I got shot 7 times, and I'm going to tell you about it. The day was October 25th, 2022. I was on my way home from work. At the time, I was living in Kansas City, Missouri. I worked in Overland Park, Missouri, so I was headed home on 71 north or south, I don't remember. But I had just gotten to my exit. I lived in Midtown, Kansas City, for reference, right off of Troost. I lived on Armour Boulevard. I had just gotten off my exit onto 39th Street. If y'all are familiar with Kansas City, so I'm pretty sure this was 71 South, so I'm going this way. I get off my exit onto 39th Street and I turn left. And this puts me on 39th, heading towards Troost, heading towards Maine, heading towards KU, that direction. So I got off my exit, I passed those few stoplights. If you're familiar with Kansas City, you know where that road starts to become one lane on 39th when you get off that exit. So I had just passed that part. And all of a sudden I look at my rear view, as one does when they're driving, and I see someone in the other lane driving into oncoming traffic. Okay, I'm gonna use my little tools here as demonstration and everything. As I'm coming up, I'm going down the hill, so my car's picking up a little bit of speed. The person that is driving into oncoming traffic is side by side with me. They swerve back over right in front of me. They start to brake check me. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? I had started to slow down anyway when I saw them start to go into oncoming traffic. And I'm like, what the hell? They start brake checking me. And all of a sudden they slam on their brakes and I rear end them. Thankfully, I had already been slowing down, so I only rear-ended them at maybe max 15 miles an hour. But as soon as I rear-ended them, they immediately hopped out and fired 9 shots into my car. Let me set the scene, though, because I was doing me, minding my business. As soon as I collided with their car, this was my very first car accident. I had never caused an accident, been in an accident, with me driving. So I'm a little panicked. So I'm looking around. My hands are still on my steering wheel at this point, I remember. So I'm looking around, and I don't hear the first 2 or 3 shots. It's not until I think I'm already hit that I look back and I see him standing there, literally I think maybe 10 feet in front of my car, if that, firing these shots. And he began to fire before he even exited his truck. So I'm going to post a screenshot of the video clip. I feel like TikTok is going to take this video down if I'm not careful. So I'm kind of covering him and, the weapon. But you can see in his tailgate there on his truck, he had literally started firing before he even got out of his truck. So at this point, obviously I'm panicking, and I just remember trying to crouch. And as you can see, I was hit 3 times in the arm and 4 times in my side and chest. So as I was trying to crouch and duck, I'm trying to get under my steering wheel. Mind you, I am driving my 2018 Ford Focus. Her name was Paula. So not a very big car, but I'm barely 5'1", so I can kind of crouch down and get under if I need to. At this point, though, he was just about done firing he was done firing, and then he walked up to my car window. At this point, I can tell you that for sure. I thought I was dying right then and there. I thought he was going to come up and pew me right in the head. My windows were up, my doors were closed, my doors were locked, everything. So he couldn't get in my car. I don't remember if he tried. I just remember at one point we made eye contact, and I'm pretty sure I saw just something washed over his face, some kind of not so great emotion. So I remember that part. And right after this happened, I screamed bloody murder. I did not realize where I was hit. I did not know how many times I was hit. I just knew I heard 9 shots, and I could see the bullet holes in my glass, and I will insert a picture of that as well. Okay, this was my baby Paula. As you can see, there's 2 shots in the hood. The other 7 are on the windshield. So after I screamed bloody murder, I think there was someone that was already walking down the street right before it happened. So they came up to my car. I rolled down my window. I said, "You got to put pressure on my wounds. You got to put pressure on my wounds. I need somebody to put pressure on my wounds right now." I knew. So like I said, I didn't know where I was hit. I had a suspicion that I was hit multiple times, because I shit you not, I could feel my body slowing down with every second that passed, quite literally. And the person that came up to my window appeared to possibly maybe have a mental illness or possibly under the influence of something. They told me, "You're not hit. I gotta go. I gotta get out of here. You're fine. You need to move." And they left. At that point, once again, I was like, okay, for sure, I'm gonna die. This right here is where I'm gonna die, in the middle of the street. But actually, let me back up. After that person did not help me, I started honking my horn, flashing my lights, screaming, just trying to bring more attention to myself. The cars behind me that saw everything happen, which I'm pretty sure one of them rear-ended me, the cars behind me started to drive around me and just leave. The people coming from the other direction slowed down to look, but just kept it pushing. It was not until, it felt like a lifetime, but according to the timestamp on my dash cam, it was only a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes before someone in the neighborhood who heard all of the shots, who heard, what happened, that actually drove down to where I was in the middle of the street and came to help me. I had to call 911 on my own because the people around were not doing anything. And the first time I called, for context, my phone was hooked up to Bluetooth on my car. So when I tried to tell Siri to call emergency services, it did that thing where, "Do you want me to call emergency services?" And I said, and I didn't wait for the beep before I said yes, so it just disconnected. Did it again. It went through, and I'm like, okay, it rings, it like the line, clicks to like someone's picking up or something. And I start talking, and like, "All lines are busy. Please stay on the line." I was like, again, like in that moment, I was like, you know what? Like, I'm dying here. Like, this is it. This is my last day here. But eventually, after like 2.5 minutes, an operator came on the line. I was able to tell them where I was. I believe it was the person that had come to help me, who was helping me stay conscious, to tell my information to the operator, because actually I had already called 911 before that person got there. So I was talking. I think by the time the person came, like the operator had finally picked up on 911. But I remember having to tell my information to the person helping me, and they had to tell it to the operator, because I was just like whispering. Like, I'm telling you, I could feel my body shutting down, like piece by piece. I shit you not. And I had the most unimaginable pain in my abdomen. I'll show y'all if you haven't seen my page already. So I had to have an XLAP, exploratory laparotomy, so they could assess all my damage. So there was a big surgery, so they cut all the way down my abdomen there. And then I was also hit on my side here. Also had chest tubes, stuff like that. I will get into my hospital stay and stuff like that as well. But this is the first part of me retelling my story. And let me tell you, I'm telling my story because I don't want this shit to continue to happen to anybody else. This has been hell. And I mean hell. It has changed every single part of my life. And what I'm trying to do now is build a community of and for wounded survivors that have gone through shit like this, so that we can rise up, build each other up, and make sure that this shit doesn't keep happening. The goal is to protect people. I've always wanted to help people, even since I was a little girl. This shouldn't have happened to me. And I'm going to make sure it doesn't continue to happen.